Entertainment, everybody loves it. And media. So, what exactly is media? Is it newspaper, television, or pretty much your palm top? Everything's considered to be media nowadays. So, there are a lot of things related to media and entertainment which we think that are simple or we take them for granted. But once we get into the legal aspects, it's much more complicated. So let's have an interview with Mr. Jamshed Mistry, who's an expert in this topic, and he's going to help us out. I'm Dr. Pradeep Reddy, and welcome to this video series. So let's introduce our guest, Mr. Jamshed Mistry. Hello, Mr. Mistry. Welcome to this video session. And for our viewers, I'm going to read a very brief profile about you. Mr. Jamshed Mistry has a law degree and he's practicing in Mumbai in the Bombay Bar Association. He's got a wide variety of experience and one of his specialty is media and entertainment law. And he is a member of several important organizations, including the International South Asian Film Festival, Lucknow Film Forum, Once More Studio, and several such institutions. And he's also has some arbitration experience, and he's very active with numerous institutions. So this entire session could be taken up just to introduce him, but let's get to a few questions and know more from him. So with that, and with your permission, Mr. Mystery, may I start the session, please? Thank you. So, as we said, the topic for today is media and entertainment. What is that exactly? What is the meaning of media and what is entertainment? Can you please explain briefly?
Sure. So, let's go back to those days where there was, and this is an absolute sort of layman's terms. You had earlier the little transistor radio, and then a few of us remember the first days of black and white television. Then it became, color TV, and look where it's gone to sort of today. Everything is available on laptop, palm top, and the gadgetry is absolutely spectacular. So so right from cinema, so media and entertainment and now encompasses, and especially the legal side encompasses a wide variety of laws. So of course, what we are more familiar is, so if you are a practicing media entertainment lawyer, let me actually start with that. Since law is the topic, media and entertainment law was for several years, including my generation, which now is getting reasonably on the other side of 50. We were never taught the subject. We actually had to study it entirely on our own. I'll give you one or two very small examples, which will, sort of will make the listeners understand how sort of it was in those days. So if you actually wanted a foreign contract, and say if a band or an important pop singer came down, I actually used to go to shows and ask them, I said, can I have a copy of your contract? And they would say, sure, take it. It is of absolutely no use to us the minute the show is over. Today, the scenario is very different. People will claim, privacy, copyright, etc. on it. And, I remember, in fact, when I did a lot of backstage for fashion shows and other things. That's how my interest in this subject actually took place. And then I found that at the end of the day, there were a lot of problems that were happening. In those days, for example, in Mumbai, you had the Bombay Entertainment Duties Act, where they could stop shows, saying that why? Because there was entertainment duty as high as 75% on subjects like sort of fashion shows, Western dance, puppet shows, all under one roof. And we were, sort of quite concerned because as, people sort of who had just come out of college, we said if we have to pay 75% of the cost of the ticket to the government, surely there's something wrong. So that's how sort of we built interest in a subject like this. And then, when I did my internship with a very famous law firm in Mumbai, I found that some of the people whom we were working with in that time, mainly the fashion industry and others, they actually came to the law firm, and there was no particular person who was specialized in this subject. So I actually used to go to the American library and read, LexisNexis and others sort of foreign precedents, and that's how I actually, built up. I, I even at one time had the contract of Michael Jackson when he had come to India, and so and just to this is to give you a sense that we never had this as a subject, and we had to learn everything on our own. Of course, it really basically it's a very universal and a very global law. So you have the Contract Act, you have intellectual property rights, that is mainly trademarks, copyright, a lot of it, a little bit of patents. Then you have the Designs Act, which is important, and then of course uh, criminal law, because infringement could lead to provisions of the criminal law as well, and and knowing, for example, when you have film co-production treaties with other countries, then a lot of public and private international law also. So these are the basics as far as media and entertainment law is concerned. One very interesting thing, it's very globalized, it's very sort of people across the world, lawyers across the world. It's a small bunch of them, and someone, in fact, in England mentioned this. They said it's one of the highest paying salary as a lawyer. So it's a very interesting and a very funky place to be in.
All right. So from this, I kind of get a feeling that you are probably asking for a act or a law related to media and entertainment.
It's not, it hasn't been codified as such. Each sort of country has its separate, it's a little bit like the Copyrights Act, because it says a copyright is a bundle of rights. It's a similar situation. So you have to know, bits and pieces around you. You should be, also, because most of the suits that are filed involve trial practice. So you should be familiar with that as well. As I said, uh, people getting stuck. For example, if there is a trademark breach, the person will sue both on the civil and on the criminal side. So I think a good all-round sort of understanding of the law, and the other aspect very much is contractual, and I think that's what will lead to the most important aspect what we want to talk about, that is mediation and arbitration, which
Okay.
so I think let's get on to mediation and arbitration in this subject, which is very, very interesting. What we noticed is in the earlier contracts, and please remember, we used to actually handwrite the contracts in those days. And I remember one very famous actor. She had sent me her contract, and in those days we received it via fax. The fax had about 4 or 5 pages, and the contract was just about maybe in two pages out of 5. So my first question to her was, I said, does your contract have an arbitration clause? And there was dead silence on the other side. And she says, what is that? I said, okay, I'll explain to you. But obviously there wasn't. The lack of understanding of arbitration and mediation, ADR, in this sector is immense. Essentially, what we noticed was that a lot of sort of companies and some of their legal advisors used to try and avoid putting the clause in the contract. And this is on the Indian side. They would say, no, it's better, let the matter go to court. And therefore, you had a lot of litigation-based, even for the smallest breach, they would rush to court, try and get an injunction. But I think over a period of time, I think they've understood that the courts are completely overburdened. I mean, for example, today the Bombay High Court has just one single judge hearing copy IPR matters, and you can see the total collapse of the system. Delhi and other places are slightly better, but quite often most of these issues can happily be resolved using, the alternate dispute mechanisms, starting with, of course, mediation. And let me give you a couple of examples of how mediation is done, and it's quite hilarious sometimes. So there was a particular matter in court where we found that we were for the script writer. We found that his script was virtually sort of, as they said, airlifted, and his wife saw and said that, my God, from the fourth or the fifth episode, this is exactly what my husband has written. And we went to court, and the other side said, no, it's not, we haven't done this, that. Then finally they said, we will refer it to a joint dispute committee. So they apparently had a joint dispute committee between the producers and the senior workers, which included the screenwriters. So we went. So the judge of the Bombay High Court, he said, Mr. Mistry, I want you to go and see what exactly happens. So I went, and I promise you, it was like an OTT series. They sat till midnight. They were talking about everything else except the dispute, and then suddenly at around close to midnight, they said, oh, but now what is to be done? Oh, I think it's fine. Let's do one thing. You pay them, the writer, a certain amount, and say that apologize, go have a drink together, and let's just put an end to it. I went back and I told High Court, I said, sir, I was awake till beyond midnight, but I said this method of almost like Hammurabi, rough and ready dispute resolution is what happened. So I think this segment, this area has is one of the sort of mainstays now. It contributes a huge amount. The entertainment industry contributes such a huge amount to the Indian economy also. I mean, both and it's a very globally accepted, very visual. People know, and not only Bollywood but now regional cinema and all that has done so well, internationally, artistically, culturally. So I think to resolve the disputes, a very good, simple sort of two-step mechanism. Of course, first with mediation and arbitration. Okay. What we require really are trained, experts, and we should also train those within the industry. I think that is another extremely important aspect. Not just us as as sort of the legal advisors, but I think people from within the industry should also know. I always use this example that I said, if you want me to go on a set, then I should know what a Jimmy Jib is. Similarly, you should know what an arbitration and mediation clause is. I think that should come, and I think we should make a lot of efforts to try and achieve that. I think one of the finest examples is what they have in the US, where small claims are settled through a very, very robust mediation and if it fails, of course, arbitration system. and a whole sort of host of a majority of disputes are settled, you know, uh, for that. Now, except under the Copyrights Act, where under the current legislation you have to go to court, I think most other disputes can very happily be, decided. And in fact, even copyright. I mean, there's no sort of bar in parties, opting for mediation.
Okay, Mr. Mystery, we are reaching the end of our time. So, if you don't mind, can I ask maybe 5 or 6 questions where you can just answer yes or no, just
Sure.
for the sake of the benefit of our viewers? First, are these cases arbitrable? Most
So
of the
as
cases.
As I said, except under the Copyrights Act, where the Act actually sort of specifies the method of that you have to go to a civil court for an injunction and the criminal consequences. The rest of them usually, most of the other things are either contractual or otherwise. So for the rest, I don't see it as a problem at all.
Okay. How many cases have you seen go into arbitration in India, approximately?
I don't think we have a very clear sort of view on that. Uh, I think probably very few. The number would be very few. Of course, quite often you are not even aware because they must have done it between the parties.
Okay.
Uh, but
Uh,
uh, but I think the answer to that is, since the awareness is very low, it is very few in number.
Fine. Next, other than IPR matters, what other matters can, again, most of the cases that are in litigation right now, if we eliminate all the cases with even a tinge of IPR, how many cases do you think would be left? 10% or
So
50%?
a lot of them would also be, for example, I mean, there are two aspects, as they say. There are money claims and there are ego claims. So it's usually in the realm of these two. So the money claims can certainly be taken to and in fact most of them can be resolved. I would say if it is a combination of a money claim along with the different rights that are, I mean, for example, performers' rights, or has the
Mr. Mystery, we are
direct.
reaching, sorry to interrupt, but
Sure.
we are reaching the end of our time.
Yeah.
So can you keep the answer short? Like,
Sure.
let's
So
assume there are,
for example, a director's credit or a screenwriter's credit. These are the type of issues which can be very easily resolved.
okay. So IPR cases, because from what I sensed, is that almost all the cases would have IPR matter.
Well,
Almost.
definitely, because you see the a person who's in the entertainment business, the only goodwill or the only asset that he has is IPR. So that's what he creates on the way. Even the IPR owner of the film ultimately is the producer. So
Okay.
so
So once again, stepping back and repeating my question, I feel that it's more of IPR cases, very few related to other matters. Of course, there could be a combination of both, but if you were to segregate all the ones with the IPR separately, then the rest would be very few in number.
yes, I think that's a fair sort of assessment of. But I think the important thing over here is the knowledge and the fact that they can be decided very quickly. I think that is important because otherwise
Fair enough.
these cases take too long.
Fair enough. I think I got a great picture of what's happening. And let's understand that this is also a media where you have participated and I've interviewed you. I can sense your passion, and I realize that one interview may not be sufficient. and we may come back to you in the future for, let's say, the second part of this session with you. So with that, I
Thank you.
thank you for your time
Thank you.
and appreciate it once again. Thank you.
Thank you.